Welcome to NTR. I'm Tom Porcinubus.
I'm K-Odds,
And I'm VZ Mark II.
and we're back.
Early.
It's not early. You've just been asleep for a week and don't realize it.
Aha. No, it really is Halloween.
Yeah, and no, it's not Sunday, and this was somewhat impromptu on a level. But the real reason, I'll go ahead and explain that we're doing it, is because next weekend, when we would do the next one on prior schedule, I will not be here.
Yep.
I will be out of state. I will be visiting some friends and possibly catching COVID.
Hey.
No. You know, I hopefully not, but I am actually leaving. That poking fun at myself. Now that I said that, it'll actually happen.
Yes.
Though. You know that.
Of course.
You know, I'll come back and I'll be like, oh, by the way, fucking so and so, had it, and they came by and now we have it, and you better go get it looked at. Be like, get it. It'd be like that fucking Micro Machines guy telling you to get tested. You just be like, wait, what? Anyway, so how's everybody doing? This fine
Saturday.
well, I wasn't going to say Saturday. I was actually going to say Samhain.
Okay, my ears
Origin of
aggravating
Halloween.
me, but I don't want to get into why. For the
You're not supposed to put that in your ear, man.
Well, but Nendoroid accessories I thought would fit in there. No, I thought Figma stands would fit in there.
So you guys probably don't remember that I bought a copy of Hatsune Miku Project Diva for the PSP years ago, back when I didn't own a PSP.
Now you have a PSP?
In the culmination of a years-long saga, I now own a PSP. I got it for like $40. Because that's
But
what
not a
PSPs are worth now.
But not a PSP Vita.
Oh yeah, no, I have that.
Alright.
Here's what's hilarious is, by the way, I'm the guy who hates Sony. By the way, I
This
bought
is
a
going to foreshadowing.
I bought it's foreshadowing. I bought a PS Vita before I got a PSP, but I think after I got the Project Diva game, so I'd been waiting for a PSP for longer than I'd been waiting for a PS Vita, both of which I bought games for before I actually bought
having
the
yeah.
console.
Like, if you weren't so self-confident that you would get one, that would probably be considered a dumb thing to do.
Well, it's like so the first one, the PS Vita, it was virtual on, so I was gonna get it eventually anyway. Just like I have I knew I was eventually gonna get a PS4 because it has virtual on it.
Plus, you had to punk your friend.
Plus, I had to play games with the Geeky Panda. I had to lie to him and tell him that I wasn't getting a PS4 when I really was getting a PS4, just so I could prank him.
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen that video, definitely do so. It's pretty funny.
So satisfying.
Yeah,
That entire saga was so satisfying.
Yeah, because like you can see the real reaction on his face when all of a sudden you're there, and he's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
What else do you plan to get for that?
I have no idea. I might get Valkyria Chronicles 2, but
Do you have the first one?
I do. So here's how Sega pissed everyone off with the Valkyria Chronicles franchise. Is the first one was for the PS3, and it's literally one of the best games on that console. The second one came out for the PSP, which is a weird choice because the first one had this really nice graphical aesthetic.
The first one wasn't a fucking handheld.
Well, yeah, that's number one. But the first one had this really nice graphical aesthetic that kind of got watered down when they ported it to the PS3 and to the PSP, and they went with this school academy thing in the second one. It wasn't very well received when it came out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I might get that because I have the first game. I have the fourth game. I think the third one also came out for the PSP, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's PSP. But yeah,
So,
and
yeah,
it's not like a region thing. Like you can play games from other regions on a American PSP just fine.
Okay, so it's not region locked.
Yeah.
You gotta look for the game for the PS Vita, but oh no, see, yeah, you just said it's region locked, so
No, it's not
you would
region
have to.
locked.
No, for the Vita.
The Vita I
gonna say.
don't think is region locked either.
Oh, okay. Then look for the game Miracle Girls Festival.
Actually, let me check on that because I don't actually know. I'm not gonna fucking talk out of my ass with a.
This is great radio.
Yeah, it does look like the PS Vita is region locked because I don't know Sony consoles. I'm not the Sony guy. I've never been the Sony guy, even though I own.
He's not the Sony guy.
Even though I own a PS2 and a PS4 and a PS Vita and a PS thing.
It's
I own all these PlayStation consoles because they have good games on it, but not because they're PlayStation consoles.
Well, beyond that, another reason why you probably aren't terribly interested is because they like to censor shit all the time now.
Well,
it's the same.
I mean, it's not even that, K-Gods. Sony has never been good. Never been good. They've never been good at anything they're doing.
Anubis.
Name me a real high quality console Sony's made. You can't do it. Except the PlayStation. That was made by Nintendo in the first place.
Anubis.
Yo.
Same engine as the Miku game.
Gotcha. I mean, I'm literally the only reason I own Miku Project Diva is because it's Hatsune Miku, and it's also made by Sega, so I know it's going to be at least good. But no, here everybody is late on hating on Sony. I've been hating on Sony for the better part of a decade now.
So give it up, man. They're not going anywhere.
But well, it's like, hey, I'm the OG Sony ain't shit guy. They've never been good. They've never been particularly good in their gaming division.
Yes, now all you need to do is come up with a great beat and make a remix diss track taking Bitches Ain't Shit and taking it to Sony Ain't Shit.
So, I don't know, the PlayStation was all right. The
PS2 had a good library.
The PS2 had a good library. It was not a good console.
Per se, no. But it did. But some credit where credit is due. It did have backwards capability.
It did. Which is a lot more than I could say for the PS3 because they.
Didn't the first run of them have it, but then they got rid of it?
So it's not even that, K-Gods. The first run, the most expensive tier of the first run of PlayStation 3s had backwards compatibility to the PS2, and no subsequent release after that had backwards.
So basically, only the very first rich kids got it. I'm guessing.
Pretty much, and what really happens is if you're one of those guys and you got I think it was $600, something like that.
Yeah, they're always fucking like atrocious price wise when they come out. Sony stuff,
which was a big controversy when they came out, but I digress.
Oh yeah, because do you remember him saying, the guy basically saying, well, like it's a luxury item, so it has a luxury price or some shit. It's like, don't make it sound like it's a fucking sports car.
Like a fucking Lamborghini.
It's not a Ferrari. Come on.
What really happens is the PlayStation 3 is actually a lot more like a Pinto, because if you if you have one of those very expensive PlayStation 3s and it shits the bed, which we all talk about how the Xbox 360 had the red ring of death, but the PS3 had its own failures as well, and it's just as dead as a red ringed Xbox 360, but nobody talks about that. If you have a PlayStation 3 like that, and it's like the later part of the 2010s, the later part of the 2000s, after that first run has been is said and done, your two options left are either overpay for another $600 retail PlayStation 3 that plays the PS2 games, or you're shit out of luck. Buy a new,
or it's time for you to go to the fucking the used store.
Well, yeah. What really happens is you end up buying a new PS3. Also, by the way, good luck with your saved games, because this is something I found out personally, is the hard drives for, like, the hard drive enclosure that the PS3 uses, the original PS3, the big one, is not the
Mhm.
same hard drive enclosure that the
So it
slim
doesn't
ones
transfer.
It doesn't transfer easily. Now you could, they're probably like just a regular ass laptop hard drive. So what you can probably do is like
Just
take it out,
get one
take
of
it out
those.
of the enclosure, put it into the enclosure for the small one, and then put it back in. And to be fair,
Gotcha.
this is a problem that the Xbox 360 has had as well.
Right.
Microsoft, however, did come out with a nifty cable for you to transfer your save all your files from the old style hard drive in the Xbox
To the
360.
new one.
to
So they
the
at
new
least they
one.
addressed the grievance.
Yeah, at least they understood that it was going to be a problem for people, and
Whereas
came
Sony
up
just said,
with-
"Tough fucking luck."
yeah,
Play
Sony
again.
just told everyone to go fuck themselves, which
PlayStation.
is I mean that's habitual for Sony, but nobody talks
Oh
about
yeah, I
that.
was gonna say that's not anything new. But yeah, I distinctly remember the dude basically saying that about the PS3, people bitching about the price point, and he was all like, "Well, it's a luxury item. You got to pay a luxury price for it." It's like, dude, no. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. Same company back during the mid 90s, when they were like literally after they had announced the price point for the Saturn at E3. Sony's fucking press conference was walking up to the podium and announcing a price point $100 under the Saturn, which is part of how they won that console war. So
Oh, I'm sure.
same company, hey, we're making a console and it's kind of like the Saturn but $100 cheaper. Good luck, Sega. Some years later, well, this is gonna cost $600 because it's a luxury item. Fuck yourself. Sony's bad. They've never been good.
And again, consider that a bit of a foreshadowing to one of the main topics we're going to get at.
Oh, absolutely.
But before we go any further, I think we should probably mention we're all in the chat.
So, here's what you do to get involved with the show live. You go to ntrradio.net, click on the live chat link, give yourself a nickname, and hit the button and join us in the IRC channel. Alternatively, you can take your favorite IRC client, point it at irc.ryzen.net, and join us in the # SLC media channel. In addition, you can get at us on Twitter at TAnubis, at VZMK2, at NTR_radio, and as always, the email address to get involved with the show is ntrradio@gmail.com.
Happy Halloween out there.
Yes,
for
sir.
those who are tuning in or listening after Halloween is over. Indeed, I don't know what it's going to be like out there tonight. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of trick or treaters and shit like that. So
I doubt it.
given the kind of the atmosphere of what's going on. Anyway, beyond that though, I actually have stuff to talk about in the first segment.
Hey,
Yeah, I finally did start watching the new Strike Witches, by the way. Road to Berlin, for those not paying attention. And I've only gotten one episode out so far, but so far so good. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It's fun to see those characters again.
yes.
I enjoyed that. Everything looks pretty nice. There was a couple of parts that kind of looked a little iffy, but I mean, you can say that about any episode of anything. There's usually always at least a head scratching or a little part or something that just doesn't rub you the right way. For one reason or another. In this case, though, I saw something really funny, and I thought you guys would really appreciate it. So I made a note to put it in a notepad thing here. So I was going back to one of my old haunts, and I was never a member there, but I was a lurker for a long time. I don't know if you guys know about this place. It's called Anime Ski.
Oh, yeah. I think I still have an account there. They wish me a happy birthday every year.
Okay. This used to be, before Nya and places like that, a place people went for torrents. And there's a big forum there, too. It's not as active as it probably used to be, but
Naturally.
much like Random Curiosity, it's still there. Which, that alone is surprising. Personally, I think so. But I gotta find this. Okay, I did find it. There was a comment on this first episode that I couldn't believe somebody made. And I just am going to quote this. Check this out. quote, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want people doing any harassing or any stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
But I am going to quote it because you'll see why. Quote, I was somewhat put off by the lead in it section where they insisted on putting close-ups of every witch's butt. It's frankly fan service in the least titillating, most insulting to the viewer form. Now, why does this sound stupid? Because if you've watched this franchise up to now and this bothers you,
this is like the 5th Strike Witches.
Yeah, if this was the first time you saw it, okay, I could forgive that as being kind of an ignorant thing. He doesn't really know what they're getting into. But this person, as I would read later, has seen them all.
What? That's late. That's like
that like holy fuck. That's like complaining about gore in Mortal Kombat now. Like, where were you? But after you played all of them.
This is some I was blind and now I see shit. This is like, whoa. I didn't realize that this is what fucking the other 3 series and a movie that I watched were about.
I could see clearly now. Rain. Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Right? Like, because they distinctively talk later on about Brave Witches and, the 501, and it's good to see them again and whatnot. And I'm like,
it's good to see in the beginning. Well, that means you've watched
it this far. Not only that, but I've only seen the first episode, but this one doesn't even feel as bad as the previous ones in that regard. Like, it's nowhere near as in your face.
No, it's actually a little softer in its
yeah. So it's like, I can't wrap my brain around that. Like, I mean, I can understand not liking it, but I can't understand watching it all this time and just now acting like they're somehow having something someone said I smell a robot. No, robots would be smarter than that.
That's like you, like maybe something about that person changed. Like,
yeah, they probably became a wokey in between. I'm sure
there's no way to reconcile that.
Because even between Brave Witches and now, there was a couple of years, right? At least 2, right?
I think.
Yeah, there was also that short series that wasn't that good.
Well, whatever. My point is, it's very possible for someone to have contracted the woke virus in between.
I mean, at the same time.
But, like, why did you even decide to watch it at that point?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of things about this that make no sense. Like, no matter what angle you're going from. I just don't get it. I don't understand what kind of person habitually would watch Strike Witches and then bitch about that. Like, how I don't know. That would almost be like if you decided to watch Bio Black, but then the demonic imagery bothered you. But you're like on episode 6 or something.
Yeah.
And you just decided, I'm kind of not liking that. I don't get it. Again, that just jumped out to me because I was like, okay, something about this doesn't make sense. And again, it still doesn't. I'd almost be interested in talking to them.
Almost.
Well, no, because again, if I'm right and they're on the Wokenot train, anything they'll say will be completely unbearable. But then why are they continuing to watch it? I don't know.
That's one thing I
like.
I don't like.
Like, look right now. We're both sitting here with trying to wrap our brain around something that clearly doesn't make any sense.
I mean, my only hope is that they don't continue to watch it, because it's like, listen, I follow the 1 episode drop rule. I get it. I'm pretty. Like I'm pretty,
hardcore.
I'm pretty hard on the anime that I watch. That it's gotta do something to hook
ensnare
me.
You.
Yeah, do something to hook me in the first episode. But like, I'm fine. Like,
listen, I'm not
shows, sad about dropping shows. Like, I feel like there's some people who like.
And yet you still shouldered through Divergence Eve.
Yeah, you know what? You got a point. I didn't finish Misaki Chronicles though. I own it. Okay, but I didn't finish it.
Divergence Eve has to be the only show I've ever seen that bombards me with huge titties that I actually didn't want to finish. And that's a fucking achievement.
I can't really blame you on that either.
And the thing is it's not even poorly animated or anything.
Yeah, it's a perfectly decent show. It's just weird. It's a little bit too weird.
And it's like there's a certain. It's almost like the surreal, not in terms of content or anything, but in terms of kind of the way it messes with you. It almost reminds you of the really heady kind of parts in Serial Experiments Lane, but like boring.
That's like how I, despite the titties, I couldn't finish through Occultic 9.
Like, do you know how uninteresting and how completely boring of a show I have to find it to not watch it if it's just bombarding me with titties the entire time? It's like I can take a lot of crap, you know, and even shoulder through stuff that's not even very good. If hey, this has got pretty good, you know, shameless smut in it.
Anyway, I guess I just found the premise interesting, because that's probably what let me slog through that show. However, Misaki Chronicles I did not finish because it just got too out. Okay, now we're time traveling.
It got even weirder.
Listen, as the resident time traveler, I'm not on board.
I thought you went. Shouldn't you have went into the future and already seen you weren't going to be into it?
Listen, we're gonna start creating paradoxes, and then if I knew I wasn't gonna be into it, I wouldn't have started it in the first place. Which means now future me doesn't even know what it is, so we don't fuck around with the future. That's the rule.
Okay. Anyway, so but you understand what I'm saying, right? You almost have to be trying to get me to not watch a shameless titty anime. Because it's like even if it's not very good, I can usually make it through the first round and just like get through to the end and go, okay, that was just kind of okay.
I'm with you. At that same time, though, like my standards, I guess are kind of higher, because like I watched the like Ikitosen, Tenjo Tenge, and like they're okay, but I didn't really enjoy them as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, I mean, I only watched it one time. I didn't buy it or anything. It was just sort of a rental type. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know that's not really relevant so much anymore, but I say it's worth a rental, which means it's just kind of worth going through one time and then kind of forgetting about it.
You watch it once.
It's a time killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else you guys watched?
Oh, yeah. I was just kind of getting started, and I wanted to rant because I saw that comment, and I was just like, what in the fuck? How does that even work? Anyway. Let's see here. I ended up rewatching. I've been watching Dragon Ball Super just for fun before I go to bed. Just sort of a ritualistic. All right, I'm going to sleep. I'm gonna knock out a couple episodes, and I finished it. And then I rewatched Broly again just to kind of cap it off. Which visually is very enjoyable, but content-wise, it's definitely a little light. I mean, the fight's okay, but again, I actually thought the history of Planet Vegeta and all that stuff was actually more entertaining than the fight. So, I know that probably... I already pissed off, like, the wrestling fans of the show. Right? Anyway. So, watch that. Was watching... what the hell was it? Some old Simpsons episodes too. I know that's not anime, but I was still doing it anyway. They've been playing a lot of the Halloween ones here lately, obviously. Yeah. And most of those are pretty funny. The time traveling toaster things never fails to be fucking funny. You know, Grandpa Simpson tells him, you know, if you ever go back in time, don't step on anything. You know, and he sneezes and pretty much kills off the entire dinosaur, you know, species.
This is gonna cost me.
This is gonna cost me. And then, like, you see his house turn into the Sphinx, the Flintstones place, all kinds of shit.
The first McDonald's.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I'll smash whatever I want.
Yeah, and then he just gets mad and just starts, like, he totally kills the mosquito, steps on shit, and just kicks stuff, crushes the beehive. Yeah, good stuff. It's really funny. But No, I mean, I'm also planning on checking out something else that came out this year. I just didn't watch it. Okay, I'm sure you both have done this before, but have you ever seen just like a character in isolation? You go, I need to find out where this is from.
Yep.
And then it sort of leads you down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
That was one of those things that happened to me earlier. And apparently this character was from a show that actually aired this year called Princess Connect.
Oh yeah.
I did not. It's based off a game and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was from this year.
Yeah, it was from this year. I actually saw that, and it actually ended, I think, last season before this one, or the one before. I can't remember. But anyway, I'm gonna be checking that out. I saw the pink-haired chick with the huge knockers.
Yeah.
Interesting design. A lot of people think it's Ryamu from Idolmaster and whatnot.
Oh, Ryamu.
Ryamu, yeah. And it's not. But they do kind of look similar.
You gotta check out Dropout Idol Fruit Tart. I think you'll like that one.
I don't know if I could ever classify liking that based on the name alone. I mean, but then again, I said the same thing about Kitty Grade. I heard the name and I'm like, no. There's some titles that I've just encountered them and they definitely pushed me away from checking them out. And I know that's dumb, especially with anime, because some of them do have some weird fucking names. I mean, I'll give you an example. The first time I heard Cowboy Bebop, that was an utterly repulsive title to me. Because it's like, I don't want to watch some anime about fucking cowboys. Are you, you know?
What about Coyote Ragtime Show?
Well, that one, if you know where it comes from, is even worse because that's a wannabe Cowboy Bebop. Yeah. That's like the low rent. That's the Leo to
brand.
That's the Leo to the Zaku.
Remember when I mentioned girlfriend beta and you were like, beta bitches?
I mean, I guess it could be entertaining, but anyway, but shows can be like that. Music can be like that too. There's been some band names that have been so bad I never checked them out, and it was one of those things. Don't judge a book by its cover, you know. But to get back to what I was saying, yeah, Kitty Grade was probably the ultimate one like that because I heard it and I'm like, what the fuck is this going to be like some kids school anime or something?
Yeah, you're expecting Hanamaru Kindergarten.
Yeah, exactly, or something like that, and it's not. But again, some of these names, if I didn't already know like about Bubblegum Crisis, I probably would have been somewhat skeptical.
Yeah,
because the name doesn't exactly scream violent and entertaining. It actually sounds like something that would be closer to Precure in the concept. But well, whatever. The point is some shows have names that have kind of pushed me away, and that was one of them. And I'm sure some people out there are like, what? And it's like, well, you got to understand, I didn't see a preview or anything. I saw the name.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't see character art. I didn't see the name or a synopsis, nothing. I just saw the name. And I was like, what? Again, I should know better, but sometimes that still happens. A name will pop up and I'll have the same kind of reaction. And I'll have to basically converse with a lot of my friends that have already seen said title who can talk me out of the position I've kind of made.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's actually a good show. Okay, I'll check it out. And in other news, somewhat of a tangent here, and we don't normally do this, but I figured we would since it was news today. Sean Connery passed away.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry, Sir Sean Connery. Mr. 007 himself.
Yep.
So if you like your drinks shaken, not stirred, pour one out for him. Anyone else?
Hit it up. Because I ain't watch shit.
I've been actually rewatching the first season of Non Biori.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think you would like it. Mm. I mean, there's two kind of people out there who seem to like Non Biori. Those who like kind of the different take on the scenery than you normally get from those kind of shows. And those that are looting Renge, which we don't talk about.
No, I'm just in the looting Hotaru gang.
That's still not as bad as Renge for numerous reasons.
I know. No, but what else have we been? And of course this season, which has been really good. Something about the new Love Live that I noticed is, and other people said, and I'm gonna have to agree, even though I do like it, not as strong with the fan service.
I'm blaming China.
I'm blaming the normies getting into it.
I'm not being serious.
No, but I am gonna blame normies getting into it.
Oh, I could have told you that, but that was, yeah, we'll blame Tim for that. Inside joke.
No, but like you know how, well, okay, you didn't see Sunshine, so, but you know how they would do the thing with Nozomi and the booby grabbing.
Yep.
Oh, they took that away.
Well, they also and they repeated that gimmick in Sunshine with Mari. She did this. She would do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't do that in this one. There's no like, I don't know. It's just the way the stuff is. There's no like fan servicey angles. There's no.
I mean, to be fair, Love Live wasn't exactly the first place I'd go for that anyway.
Oh, I know. Like I said, it's still the characterization first, but
right, I gotcha. I get you. Much like well, since I mentioned it earlier, Strike Witches, it's toned down.
Yeah. Same thing like with the new Strike Witches. That.
Although when I say that's toned down, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just not as blatant and.
That's it. Yeah. It's a little.
You could argue could be the. You could argue that could just be a different studio working on it.
Certainly. Love Live doesn't have an excuse because it's still Sunrise.
Well, right,
so
right. No, I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to Strike, which is like you got the movie and you kind of like. You also got kind of the all right. We've done that already. We can tone that down a bit.
They're on their fourth studio with Strike Witches, aren't they?
Yeah. Every time they came out with a
AIC. Silverlink, now David Production,
Silver. Yeah.
Fifth, if you count the what was the name? Luminous Witches, which is supposed to.
I like the name. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I know that has nothing to do with anything, but I actually do like the name.
Yeah, it is. It is a nice name.
Luminous Witches. Doesn't that sound like that would be a great circle, like a Dojin circle? Luminous Witches, and it's just like they come up with a fun little logo or something with that. Then again, you don't want me in charge of naming schemata for anything because I always go straight to the gutter. No, I'm serious. Like the other day, I was walking around and somebody was driving by in their car with that song "Good Vibrations" by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. It was blasting out of their car, and the only thing I could think of is that would be a great fucking name for a sex toy shop. Good Vibrations.
I guarantee you, there's one named that. Well, I guarantee. Just like there's a food cart that sells nuts called D's Nuts.
Well, yeah, I mean somebody had to jump on that.
Of course.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that like I was the first person to ever come up with this idea. I'm just giving an example of where my mind goes and why you shouldn't be putting me in charge of that. No, I mean just things like that. Oh yeah, that reminds me. There was a place in Phoenix, just as an anecdote, called Lotions and Potions. I am not fucking kidding. Now, can you guess what this place sold outside of the obvious? Can you guess what sort of store it was?
Some sort of like Wicca thing.
Close. They yeah, because they did sort of sell stuff that was like crystals and stuff, things like that.
I'm imagining sort of like an indie Bath and Body Works sort of thing.
Right. Sort of combining with places that sell crystals and chakra stuff, things like that. Yeah, and I actually saw that because when they told me the name, I was like, okay, I got to see this. Lotions and Potions. That's almost as good as when I was in Colorado and there was a little thrift store there called Loaf and Jug. I am not fucking kidding. I'm like, this thing's got to be older than the state of fucking Colorado. Like, this thing was here before it was an actual state.
It was like
you know what I mean?
It was a Native American trading post that, like,
yeah.
if you fast forward through time, you just see the city grow around it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everything's written in some kind of Navajo shit. Like, I mean, it's true. I'm not kidding. There was a place called Loaf and Jug, and I remember even looking at my parents because we were there to go to one of my brother's weddings, right? And that's where they live, is Colorado. And we went up there because the wedding was in their state, obviously, and we had to stop at a gas station, you know, and right across the street down the street is a thing called the Loaf and Jug. And I remember just like kind of looking at my mom and staring at her, and then, did you see that? Yeah, and she's like, yeah. It's like, you know, I half expect to see fucking, you know, the birth of daylight savings time, which, by the way, is later if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Tonight. So don't forget, those of you who still have antiquated ways of keeping time that aren't going to change on their own.
Was it go back an hour or forward?
Yeah.
No, back.
It's easy to remember. Fall back, spring forward.
Okay.
That's the easy way to remember. It's a stupid mnemonic, but much like Roy G. Biv, which is pretty much the one everybody remembers. They're dumb, but they do work. So yeah. No, we did not go to the Loaf and Jug.
Other stuff I'm watching. I mentioned Dropout Idol Fruit Tart, which I'm actually really enjoying. That one. That's my fan service show for the season.
I'm never going to remember the name of this, so you're just going to have to put up with me probably saying the Pop-Tart anime.
Pop-Tart?
Because that's...
All right, I like that. There you go. Pop-Tart anime. Well, they're idols, and they're based on different fruit.
Well, I suppose it's not that wrong of a of a thing. I can't fucking Pop-Tart. Yeah, so hopefully Kellogg's doesn't hear that.
And what's the other ones I'm watching? Well, yeah, the Strike Witches. Oh, yeah, the new Gochi Uso, which has been great.
Huh?
Today's episode was great because it was like Oktoberfest, and they were doing a school festival, and they were having an Oktoberfest theme, except it's in a school, so they weren't actually drinking alcohol; they were drinking apple juice.
I was gonna say, so yeah, that makes more sense. Oh, we got a little bit of a tip off. This should be good. Redo of a Healer comes out in January.
Oh yeah!
Get ready for a meltdown.
The people who constantly complain about anime but somehow identify as anime fans are gonna have significant problems. And
okay,
this is gonna be interesting in that regard.
What's this one?
So, do you remember the controversy surrounding Shield Hero?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not even going to be a hair on the ass of this one.
It's going to be like if Shield Hero was like a category 1, this is going to be like a category 7.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
what I want
premise
you to do is go look up the theme of this.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. I won't even have to explain it to you. Just and quite frankly, I kind of want you to do it while you're on here so we get an instant reaction.
Yeah.
But while you're doing that, that should definitely. I don't even think some of these places will review it or even point it out. It's so.
You say this is coming out the winter next year.
This is coming out January. Yeah. Just look it up. You'll see.
All right. Maybe it may have a different Japanese. It might have a Japanese name.
Yeah.
Though,
let me see if I can.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. Unfortunately,
it's not even on NTR yet. It should be, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'd have to look. I haven't looked at the new one.
Come on, NTR load. Okay.
NTR. Oh, that's rough.
Okay, it might not be on NTR yet. Because I'm looking and I'm not seeing anything that looks like what it should be.
Yeah, so the tip-off, where are you getting your info there? I know you're listening.
It's not, Wait a minute.
Wait a
Wait.
second.
Wait, is this
Wait.
it? Kaifuku Sushi no.
Yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah. Healing magicians cannot fight alone.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So, like, reading this synopsis doesn't actually tell you what the problem is.
No,
what the problem's
go
going to be.
look it up on Mal or something like that. I'm sure that'll be much more interesting experience. But in the meantime, looks like there's more Nun Nun Biori, courtesy of Silverlink.
Yes.
Since you mentioned that earlier.
I'm gonna tell you what, and is it on this chart? Yes, it is.
Yes,
It is. Jakukata Tomizaki-kun, the best light novels getting an anime in January. I didn't tell you guys. I ordered, like, I had the first 2 volumes. I just ordered the volume 3 and volume 4 a couple weeks ago because I know I'm gonna read it.
And since everybody will be talking about this next year, the new Evangelion movie.
Oh yeah.
I'm certain that's going. Wouldn't it be hilarious if it just ends on a really big fucking cliffhanger?
I'd be pissed, but I'd also be.
But
I'd
at the
also
same
have
time,
to clap.
you'd be like, "Yeah, that's fucking Anno for you."
You know, remember the joke that it was going to be 6 hours? I wanted.
Remember the
6
joke that it
hours.
was going to be an actual ending?
Nah.
I want 6 hours of just Shinji's cum covered hand.
Well, why don't you just loop it in a GIF?
And just watch the first like 3 minutes of End of Evangelion on a loop.
That's the theater.
Maybe
That's
just
the theater.
you know somebody's made that GIF.
It's just like that's your movie. This is what you want. This is what I think of all of you.
Well, yeah, that's
Drops
sort
the
of
mic.
my impression. That's the impression I got of it. I was like, fine, you didn't like my original ending. Now you have to see Shinji fap. Fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, there's a show on here. We're not going to talk about the next season just yet, but there's a show on here called Wonder Egg Priority.
You're gonna have to go on because I don't know what the context of this is.
Well, there's
No.
no description yet. I hope it's about I would love it if it's about a Christmas cake who just has to have her eggs fertilized because it's her priority.
I know many a hentai who basically starts off like that.
I think VZ just went on a completely. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I think he kind of extrapolated there, and I don't think that's what. Just know nothing about it. I don't think that's what it's gonna be about.
No, but
He didn't say he said what he wanted. He didn't say what it would be about. It's like his Christmas
just
list.
using that title, it's about let's say a 35-year-old Christmas cake that has to have her eggs fertilized.
Yeah,
It's her priority.
Okay, I got one that's even worse than that. Believe it or not. In the current times we live in, how is there not any doujins about COVID yet?
I think there are actually. They're just not translated yet.
Oh no! Like I was kind of kidding, but I got this visual that somebody has to basically splooge to be cured of it. You know that's going to be a fucking plot point.
The cure is worse than the
Okay, so here's the thing about this redo.
Fudanari or something.
Here's the thing about this redo of a healer thing. You're basically not gonna find what's actually wrong with it just looking at like synopses in official channels. Like you have to seek out people's reactions to it to understand exactly what's going on.
It's worth doing, mind you. Just simply because I can't think of any show in modern times that I immediately knew that was going to be a thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure you read the thing. Hentai is banned in Australia.
Third world country. Not afraid to say it.
The country that banned having small tits is also banning hentai. Gee, what a surprise!
See, now I know why what's his face got taken off. Gal Gohan off of Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain that's probably why I can't find it. or at least the earlier volumes of that on there, because what are you gonna do? There's nothing but.
So there you go. Anyway, to continue on, anybody else do anything interesting? We've got kind of the video game.
Yeah. One more thing. You need to see. Well, okay. Wait for the Blu-ray release. I'm fine with you waiting for the Blu-ray release of it, but you got to see Dogeza.
Okay.
Yeah, I do need to check that one out.
Yes. That's a love, like just how again it's so anti what everything is trying to be.
Well, and Anubis and you need to see fucking Daimadala. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Speaking of shows that would piss off people now.
So many shows would piss off people now.
Well, I know, but this isn't even an old show.
Yeah,
this one wasn't popular. This wasn't. Yeah, this one wasn't popular enough to really penetrate. No pun intended. The masses at large, really. It just didn't do that well, but it is pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, most shows are like that. Even the ones that get like, that's why we call it like a 3-day long controversy.
Seriously, it's like a week. It's like a weekend where they didn't go. It's like a weekend they were off work and decided to get extra mad.
Yeah. Except
because
Shield Hero was the exception, because people were mad. Shield Hero, because people were mad about that for the entire run of the anime.
Also, Goblin. Well, no, Goblin Slayer didn't.
Goblin Slayer, They, after the first episode was done, like
it died down
a week
quite
after
a bit.
that, we were
and quite frankly, even most of that was predicated on the fact that they rated it PG or something by accident.
Yeah.
Oh, Burgermeister in the chat says, "Any of you seen Sleepy Princess? It's the double cover thing."
No.
No, I haven't.
Would you recommend it? I mean, obviously.
I haven't, but the main girl does look like Kana from Maid Dragon.
Okay, that's not a bad selling point. I mean, really.
You can't look Kana.
That's what you think.
That's what you think. Yeah. Exactly.
Watch me.
It's like you just hear this. You just hear this heavy Darth Breeder modulated breathing.
I love how next season there's going to be not one but 2 Cells at Work anime.
Yeah. Speaking of things that they could potentially squeeze COVID jokes into, I think that would be considered in poor taste.
Well,
probably.
all you have to know about the other one is 2 words: delinquent platelets.
Yes. Are they how people end up getting, I don't know, zits or something?
Well, it's like the premise of that one is like it cells at work, but in a body that does not take care of itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I got it.
And they're like juvenile delinquent types.
So like, are they smoking or something like that?
Well,
they're just hanging around in the blood cell, because that's what happens when your arteries get clogged.
Well, instead of like
so basically, it's going to be inside of Movie Bob.
The platelets in the original are all happy, and they're like they act like the ideal little children. These act like all like mean and like what the fuck do all surly.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking of the ones with like the fucked up haircuts and the angry eyebrows and shit. No. Maybe smokes or has like a leather jacket or something.
These are Japanese delinquents, so they're not. The Japanese delinquents.
Hey, they used to have them smoke.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Japanese delinquents are the most harmless thing ever. That's the thing. That's funny.
Yeah, it's like I'll cross the street whenever I want. I jaywalk. Look at me. No. Anyway. Okay. I totally misread this. Also, female white blood cell. My first thought on that was seeing female incel. I know that's not what they said, but for some reason my eye caught it wrong. Yeah, that's what I read.
Yeah. Instead of female red blood cell and male white blood cell, they switched it around.
Okay. And I'll never knock them for creativity on that. That was always kind of a fun little excursion.
Yeah.
Conceptually.
Also a new Yuri. or laid back. I mean, not Yuru Camp.
You got me excited.
Yeah, no. No, but there was that Yuru thing that came out last year that was actually good. That was like,
Okay, you've watched the Yuri Camp thing or whatever it is.
yeah,
Is it exactly what it says on the tin?
yes.
Lesbians camping.
Oh. No.
Oh.
No.
Well, see, there's a difference between.
Well, that would be if it was Yuri
hang on.
Camp.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, because there's a difference between if that were an anime versus if that was just like a reality show. Because if that was a reality show, it would just be like, people fishing and going to hardware stores and shit. So that's not what I'm talking about.
Well, they could always do an anime version of Naked and Afraid.
What about waiting more years, waiting for a new Hidamari sketch? Are they still planning on doing that?
I don't think so.
Because
I waited.
I'd like to say it's been too long, but then again, Full Metal Panic came back.
I mean,
Well,
so here's my thing: is I waited literally half of my life for the new Virtualon between 2003 and 2018. So everyone can fucking wait. If I can wait 15 years for new Virtualon.
We almost waited that long to get Ladies vs. Butlers on home release.
Well, that
But I blame that on Media Blast.
That Yuri thing special that came out last year was kind of like, in a way, I don't want to spoil, but it was kind of like, it felt like the definitive end, at least for those anime.
We got we waited 7 for Strike, which is maybe true, but we did get Brave Witches, which I think was good enough.
Yeah, we like Strike Witches has been a very ongoing series for like since it started.
And even more so if you're looking at the manga.
Not a single person wants a new Sky Girls.
No.
The anime that came and
Everyone
died.
Oh, you
fucking
mean
forgot
the
about
one that
Sky
nobody even
Girls.
remembers except for, oh yeah, that was bad, wasn't it?
It's not even that people say it's bad. I just don't see
It was
people
People
forgettable.
say anything about it in the first place. All right. We do have news.
Yes.
So let's news.
Let's news.
Working to restore power.
So you might remember earlier this year when AT&T announced that they were selling off Crunchyroll. And
Which we should point out that this was a thing you said, actually. I don't know if you actually said it on here. I think you might have said it in a chat somewhere.
Well, so I've said multiple times in the past on this show that Crunchyroll would not be like Crunchyroll's days were numbered as its own entity. So like Crunchyroll would probably continue on as a brand, but at some point would be rolled into. I had said in the past it would be rolled into Verve. More recently, I said that if it wasn't going to be sold off, it would be rolled into HBO Max. But earlier this year, we got the news that AT&T was in talks to sell off Crunchyroll, and initially they had priced it at $1.5 billion, which Sony
Newsflash, it did go down.
Yeah. So Sony told them to fuck off with that.
Because that's an insane idea.
So then they started shopping it around at $1 billion. And just yesterday, we got news. This is coming from asia.nikkei.com. Sony nears acquisition of U.S. anime streaming service Crunchyroll. Entertainment giant could pay more than $950 million as talks wind up with parent AT&T. Well, no, so what they're saying is the price is currently set at around $957 million, which is not a whole lot less than $1 billion.
That's going to get down. I guarantee it.
Well, I don't even think it's going to get down. If it does go down, it's probably going to go down by a teeny tiny little bit. But here's the issue, because so we know, because Sony has said in the past that Sony wants to dominate the anime world. So they're already quite a ways toward doing that just by having Funimation, because it's the biggest company in that sector in the US
Certainly
right
the
now.
biggest, certainly the best distribution arm for sure.
Certainly. Well, it's the biggest distribution arm by far.
I mean, you can go to Walmart and get their shit. There you go.
And then the only competitor at that level is Crunchyroll, which is just streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And so
if they
you
can
can say
lock
that
on they pretty much have all the big. I mean, you add to the fact that they have Aniplex, right?
So it's not that, well, Sony, it's a different division of Sony than owns
Right.
Funimation owns Aniplex, but it's under the same parent company. But
Right, that's what I mean.
yeah, so they have all that, and like, so the biggest competitor for Funimation is Crunchyroll, and they're only streaming. So you could say that Funimation itself is a bigger enterprise just because they also have dubbing, they also have distribution, they also have physical media, all that.
Both of those, you really do have a large chunk of the spread.
But so here's the thing: I don't think Sony is like, I don't think Sony thinks they're getting a good deal on Crunchyroll. Not by far.
No.
'Cause-
I'm starting to wonder if they're actually just strategically going to grab it, gut it, restructure it, and then sell it off once it starts losing money.
I don't think they're going to sell it off. Let me look this up real quick, because I know the Funimation acquisition was so much less than Sony.
That's peculiar. Then you'd think that you would have paid more for that than you would have that.
Yes. Okay. This is from 2017, August 1st. Funimation's own blog. Does it say
Wait, they
the
have
price?
a blog?
Yeah, they do somehow.
Does it work?
I don't know that they say the price. Here's the press release from Sony Pictures. I could probably just look it up on Wikipedia and look that up, because I think it was like 140 million for Funimation.
Mm-hmm. Which is considerably less for a streaming platform.
Like you pay 140 million for Funimation, and that's streaming, that's distribution, that's their own the dubbing and all that. That's so much.
All goes under the umbrella.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. On January 31st, 2017, Sony Pictures Television announced that it would buy a controlling 95% stake in Funimation for 143 million. So it's 143 million for distribution, physical media, dubbing, their own streaming infrastructure, and all that. Versus,
which I bet is better than Crunchyroll at this point.
Well, as far as their streaming infrastructure, I don't know. And
just based
realistically,
on how bad you said it actually is.
Well, I haven't heard good things about Funimation's either.
True. And to be fair, both of them have more than a little bit done dumb things in terms of promotion and attacking supposedly their customers.
Oh, absolutely. So but you pay 143 million for Funimation, at least 95% of Funimation, which means Funimation in 2017 is worth about 150 million.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's no way you pay that for Funimation, and then you pay 957 million for Crunchyroll and think you're getting a good deal.
But it also is sort of peculiar in the sense that there does seem to be something else going on there with that, I would think.
Well, there is something else going on with that.
Because if you aren't getting a good deal, why are you doing it?
Because Sony wants to dominate the American anime market, and they've said as much in the past.
Okay, but if you're not making money on the anime market, why would you care about that?
Well, it really depends on whether or not they're making money in the anime market. We don't know how successful Funimation is for Sony. I would imagine that it's probably gone down in the past few years, given Funimation's habitual missteps. But
would it be wrong if I came up with a term for this?
what?
Funimation missteps. I've got a term for this that specifically kind of references specifically them and their missteps.
All right.
Marky Markisms. Come on. No?
But it's more than just that one person, though. That's the thing. It's a systemic problem within their organization.
Right.
And I think that's lost when we focus on the individuals responsible for that, because there's supposed to be individuals above those individuals whose job it is to say, no, we're not putting it out like that. Go fucking do it again. And they're not doing that.
Right. Right. Although you do have to wonder if Sony acquiring them and Crunchyroll will make them act right. I don't think it will.
No.
But
no, because
simply for the fact that their video game branch here pretty much tells you all you need to know.
I mean, when did the prison school thing happen?
Not the just
20...
a couple of years ago.
That was 20.
Well, it had to have been
15.
after Gamergate, so.
That was 2015.
Yeah.
That was 2015, and then.
So I'm gonna say at least 2016, at least.
Well, so the Sony acquisition happened in 2017, in like mid 2017.
They've more than been willing to be fucking around since.
Yeah, they've done other untoward shit since then. So
I think maybe they just let it run wild until it actually causes them a problem.
Well, it's gonna have to be pretty significant for it to actually cause them a problem. Is the point?
Mm-hmm.
And
doesn't Sony own Aniplex?
Sony owns Aniplex, but a different division.
But it's a different division.
Yeah,
but
Sony,
we just mentioned that earlier.
So Sony Music runs Aniplex, but Sony Pictures runs Funimation.
Right, and that's a completely different group of.
It might as well be a different company.
It is, because Sony Music is an entirely different entity in many ways.
Yeah, they're just closely affiliated because both of them are under the Sony umbrella.
Yes.
So
we're talking about
it's kind of like priests and hookers.
We're
Subtle
talking about
but
Sony
related.
Pictures.
we're talking about Sony Pictures.
Okay.
So what it comes down to is, I think this is purely a play to capture the rest of the US anime market.
Makes sense.
And so here, and like if you understand Sony's like ambition in that market, that's easy to understand. Where it gets to a hot take point for me is number one, and this isn't that much of a hot take. Sony grossly overpaid for Crunchyroll. Like there's no way, no shot is
They're
Crunchyroll
gonna recoup that.
Well, it's not even whether or not they're going to recoup it. Crunchyroll is not worth $1 billion.
No.
There's no way. That's number one. Number two is, obviously Sony's trying to, like, by going in at this price, obviously Sony's trying to, like, get Crunchyroll before anyone else gets Crunchyroll. And my question is there anyone else who wants Crunchyroll?
I was gonna make a joke and say that, I don't know, maybe Media Blasters. Like, assuming they would come up to buy it within 10 years.
So here's, let me explain. Here's my rationale. Netflix, we know Netflix is, at least they're, for now, going really in on anime. They're funding a lot of productions. They're doing this and that. They're getting involved in production committees. They're branding different anime as Netflix original, all that kind of thing. Netflix can play around with billions of dollars easily. Like 1.5 billion, that's like pocket change for Netflix.
Well, hold on. Netflix is actually losing money now.
Oh, Netflix has been in debt for years. Netflix has been in a lot of debt for many years.
Well,
but they can operate that way,
movie, which I won't name. But...
Well, of course, but that's not really. an issue. They can, if they wanted to, they could just remove that movie and it'd be fine. Here's the thing. Netflix fucking plays around with billions of dollars habitually. They could have gone for. You think if Netflix is really about this life with anime, they wouldn't have. They don't want the biggest streaming company in the United States for anime with all its licenses and its properties and its infrastructure. The infrastructure probably doesn't matter a whole lot to Netflix as far as their streaming and whatnot goes, but they probably do want those translators. They probably want those connections to production committees that Crunchyroll has. They definitely would want their properties. Bring all those on Netflix. Get all these extra subscribers who want to see that anime on board with Netflix. So why didn't they?
Does make you wonder if there was some pushing out behind the scenes or something going on.
I don't think that's the case.
Do you have a theory?
I do have a theory. I don't think the anime market is that big. I don't think
you think they pumped it up and sort of bit off more than they can chew.
I think that AT&T really want well, number one, they really want to pay off their debt, and that's why they're selling Crunchyroll in the first place. But they really want to, or less that they really want to, but it's both them and Funimation got too big for their britches. They got they grew too fast in a market that I don't think is sustainable for that kind of growth. So like Crunchyroll, they started as the pirate streaming site, and it's going really well, but they're having problems paying their bandwidth and stuff. So they get.
But they know how to treat their employees, right?
Well, I mean, well, that's far before any of that. But they go and they get $4 million from Venrock. And so, hey, okay, we got venture capital now. Now we can start actually making deals and going legit with this kind of thing. And that's cool in the gang. They're doing their thing. They're getting their official thing. They're getting the deal with Naruto and whatnot. TV Tokyo, they're doing their thing. And then the Chernin Group takes interest in them, and they go and they buy a majority stake in the company, and now they're now they're locked in. Now Crunchyroll is under an umbrella, and as soon as the Chernin Group goes in and forms Ardor Media, now they're fucking super locked in. Now they're underneath a big company, and now they're beholden to that company, and they have to prove their worth constantly. And AT&T is a big company. They don't necessarily understand the anime market, which is why they brought Crunchyroll under their wing, because Crunchyroll understands the anime market, but at the same time, unless AT&T understands how the anime market works, Crunchyroll kind of can't operate in a way that's actually conducive to the way the anime market works. Because we understand, the reason that prices for physical releases are so high in Japan is because they know that there's only a certain amount of people who are going to buy this, but they'll buy it at pretty much any price.
Which is where you get Aniplex pricing.
Exactly. And on some level, that's the best way they can work that market in Japan, because they tried lowering the prices and it didn't work, because people who weren't going to buy it aren't enticed by lower prices. But so you port it over to the US market, and now it becomes a marketing thing. So where now you're trying to scale a streaming service, and the only way you can do that is by trying to get as many people as possible on board with your streaming service. Because you have to scale that in order to make it viable. Otherwise, you've got all this infrastructure but not enough people paying for it. So you have to come up with a way to get however many million people to pay for this service. And eventually you end up having to spend more marketing dollars trying to get people who you couldn't previously get to subscribe to your service. People who like you got all the people who are really hardcore into anime. They know about Crunchyroll. They know about the availability there. They know about the service. All the people who are in the know with anime, deeply in the know with anime. They know what Crunchyroll is, and they're going to subscribe based on whether or not the service is up to stuff. Now you have to start marketing outside of that. And you have to, it's like concentric circles. You got the core people here. You got the people who just don't know about it yet, but will buy it as soon as they know about it. Then you got to widen the gap a little bit. And each time you have to widen this circle, you have to eventually pay more per acquiring a customer, as far as marketing goes. So you got that, and then at the same time, there's really only a certain amount of people total who are going to be into anime. Like, period. It's as much as we like to talk about how mainstream anime is, it's still really a niche. You're going to have the people who they're going to watch My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer and all that, but are they really going to stick around? Because once the show that they're watching is over, is there guaranteed to be a next show that they're going to watch? We don't know.
Yeah, and that's sort of the folly of that infinite growth model.
Exactly.
It does not really operate how anime fans do.
Exactly.
And thus, because of that, it can't be considered stable in that way.
It's not sustainable especially not for these companies who are beholden to much larger companies that don't care.
And they expect them to keep growing.
Exactly.
And keep going.
Exactly.
But the anime companies in Japan don't even look at it that way.
No.
They look at it as in, first and foremost, making your money back is the best thing, obviously. But also, I mean, yeah, if you do better than that, okay, it's a big success at that point.
Well, it's not even that. They recognize that it's a niche, and they spend all their marketing dollars trying to market to that niche. Because otherwise, you need to you end up spending more money. But they should be making
to us because there's more people in America.
And here's the thing.
Here's the joke about that. By that belief system, they should be making it for China. Because not only are they closer culturally and physically, but there's more of them by a lot than us.
And I mean, we hit up the last episode of NTR Radio. We talked about that, how bad an idea that is, how colossally bad an idea that is.
But my point is it shows a complete lack of forethought in the sense of how this stuff actually is made, how it's distributed, and how it actually makes money.
Yeah, it's a 100% lack of understanding of the business model behind anime.
Which is not like, I don't know, your regular shows here, for example.
But here's the, like, expanding on that topic, the part of the issue is that when you're talking about how anime makes money in Japan, as far as the production committees are concerned, like, everything involved with the anime makes money, and that makes it back to the production committee because they all invested in it. The anime is not the main product. It's rarely the main product.
No, in many ways, it's actually more of a commercial.
Yeah, it's a marketing
for other
spend.
stuff. Yeah, like, I mean, for toys, for art books, for merch of any kind, really.
But so
it's a very merchandise-driven industry, in more so than a lot of things here even are.
But so in the US, anime is the main product.
Yeah, which is almost the reverse.
It's so, well, in a world of licensing, they only license the anime. Like, Funimation will only license the anime. They're not gonna license the game that comes with it. And then there's a
like
different
Viz
company.
Or somebody usually gets the manga.
There's a different company that has the manga. It's not a full spectrum sort of thing like you have with the production committee. So they can only make money off of the anime. And
so they have to operate at, we need to sell this as the product.
Bingo. And especially when they're beholden to a much larger company, Now they have to really sell this as the product.
Right. 100% got it.
It's that, and
again,
they have to cut costs.
And not only that, but over here, there seems to be a real apprehensive attitude toward sort of mixed media. Like, you know what I mean? I compared it there. Like, there, you can have things that are part of it's part of a video game, then a show, a manga, and you can, and it could all be different stuff that you have to get all of them to follow it. Without just sort of reading about it, of course.
Yeah, it's the difference in the way people engage with the medium. So like,
yeah, which is very, like I'm saying, there is a major apprehensive here because like light novels aren't nearly as huge here, obviously.
They're getting there though.
No, they're getting better. They are, but it's like that assumes people here want to read, which.
Well, I mean, manga's really like manga's a huge.
It is.
Market.
It's like if you even go to my
it's
local...
very comparable to the anime market. So it's not even the thing about reading. It's just that there's a disconnect between all of the companies involved in all, because it's all licensed out. Like,
and there's division of labor amongst it. Because like you said, it's not even the same people getting the same licenses.
Right. Like they license out the manga, they license out because the Japanese companies, like, they got their money. Why do they care?
Yeah, I mean,
so they'll license out the manga to Viz.
Also why they don't care when they fuck with stuff most
exactly.
of the time.
Is why
because they've already got the money, they don't care.
They'll license out the anime to Funimation. Funimation fucks it up. The Japanese company doesn't care. They have their money.
They already got paid. Which the only people that usually care are like the real artsy types that don't want it portrayed a certain way.
Yeah,
and they'll grouch about it. I mean, like Miyazaki did that.
And at that point, it's the individual people who made it that care, and not necessarily the company.
Yeah, or any of these committees or whatever. Yeah, I mean that's so. Yeah, if you think you're gonna kind of go behind Funimation's back and whine to Toei or something like that, most of the time they're not gonna care.
No.
They've already made their money. They don't give a shit. So I mean that if that's your plan, that's not a very good one. Not that I think that is anybody's plan, but I've heard people say, "Hey, we need to kind of go around them and talk to the people." And it's like
that's such a bitch move.
It does.
That kind of thing makes me low key mad because, like, oh,
if you're willing to go to that much trouble, why don't you take the people who do it to task?
It's why don't you take the people to do its task? And it's a complete abdication
like on you.
Well, it's that, but it's also a complete abdication of the idea that we need to, like, it's important that there's a healthy market for the stuff over here. Like, and fuck, none of these people would have, like, the tape trading days, guarantee you none of these people would have survived that. And I say survive like it's a fucking, like it's a Holocaust.
I get what you mean, because they have a very...
None of these people would be into anime if it was the tape trading days. So they're talking, it's the, like, death to the Western industry people. It's like, okay, guy, I guarantee you wouldn't be watching anime if it weren't for the Western industry. Which isn't to say you should be thankful for what they're doing, but it's very important that there's a healthy market for the stuff over here. And what that really means is that these companies need some competition.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, you can argue. I mean, they have them in the sense that, you know, you have your Aniplex, you have your Sentai, and so forth. But I see what you mean.
But, like, yeah, okay, like, it's like, it's like, if we put Funimation at 45% of the anime industry and Crunchyroll at the remaining 45% of the anime industry, and then the rest of the 10% is like Right Stuff and Sentai and Media Blasters and G Kids and Discotheque. It's all, you have two massive companies that have like most of the licenses, and then you have a whole bunch of boutique stuff that they can. What they get is really good. Like I'm glad Right Stuff has all of Gundam. I'm glad Sentai managed to somehow get Legend of Galactic Heroes, but it's boutique stuff. Other than the two major licensing firms, and what happened, the big like bad news about it is like, okay, now that 90%, those two major companies are now under the same umbrella, and it's the umbrella of a company that we know is like habitually bad.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have they been hacked?
For quite a few. That's number one. Number two is that they have a rich anti-consumer reputation.
Speaking of that, you guys might not remember this, but I do. In the mid 2000s, they pulled a nasty stunt too. In the mid 2000s, they actually put to combat piracy. Check this out.
I remember this.
They put rootkits on fucking CDs.
Yep.
That when you extracted them, like, you know, for the MP3, they also installed rootkits on your computer.
Yep.
And they got caught. Yep. And people were not happy about it. And not only that, but most of the albums that had that, it fucked them up.
Yep.
To where they didn't always play right in certain players, and that they were flimsy and all kinds of shit. And at first, I think if I'm not mistaken, they denied it was even a thing. But then somebody actually proved it, that it actually happened, and they just sort of kind of walked off with their tail between their legs, kind of like, yeah, we tried to do it, we're sorry. And everybody's like, what the fuck? And it's like, everything about that's ridiculous. It's like, all right, if somebody's going to the trouble to actually rip it off their CD, that means they have the CD at very least. Might not be theirs,
so like,
but
I'm through pretending like everyone hating on Sony now is like insightful and shit. Like they've been a bad company since the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone. If you started hating on Sony within the last like 5 years, you're fucking late.
Or like 15.
Well, it's mostly the past like 5 years, cause it was since they moved their interactive entertainment headquarters or whatever division to San Francisco, and then
which suddenly it got a lot worse once they did.
It was like everyone started noticing that they're
censoring
this,
our game,
they're censoring that. It's like, oh, okay, cool, welcome to the club. Sony has been bad for decades. But that's beside the point. I mean, the pure concept of just having all of these licenses under one company, it's concerning as far as the anime market goes.
Right.
We've had some chatter in the IRC continuously. This from Shinden 9. Crunchyroll is basically a brand as it is at the moment. There is no way Crunchyroll will be anything but a logo vis-a-vis Pan Am by this time next year. Damn, Pan Am. Remember Pan Am? Especially with that office building in San Francisco. If you have another anime streaming service licensor in your lineup, all Crunchyroll can be is a liability. That's true. The value Crunchyroll has is in its licenses. If you transfer that onto Funimation, you can eventually end Crunchyroll. As much as we hate Crunchyroll, this is very bad news.
Sure, it is. Again, when things, it's like, okay, how to explain this? Back when I was a kid, I mean, there were still big mega corporations, of course there were, but there was a lot more of them. There were like 50 or 60 big ones, really big ones. Now there's like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Lots of mergers, and that's what you would be seeing there. You would be seeing mergers to where things disappear or all go under other ones, and that usually does not end well for us as the consumer.
No.
That is definitely in favor of the business orient end of it. And the reason is because they get their money either way.
Exactly.
And it really doesn't matter what we do. And we're just going to kind of have to eat shit and like it, really. Yep. And which is why that's always usually a bad thing. Yeah, there's some other stuff here. Like you said, only saving grace here is that there's a niche still available for licensing things, since Funimation won't touch things that are outside of Sony's puritanistic comfort level. Amazon is easing off, and Netflix is only going for exclusives and the cream of the crop they think will be most successful. All of which is true.
Yeah, Netflix is not really about that life with anime.
No.
Otherwise, they would have gotten Crunchyroll.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, they kind of were dipping their toes in, as noted by the fact that they grabbed Evangelion, but that was a guaranteed moneymaker.
That was Funimation fucking up. That was Funimation waiting
but
for the price to drop on one of the most influential anime properties to have ever been created.
But my point is, the reason they scooped it up is because they knew that they would make money off it no matter what.
So some executives' net niece is really into anime and say, "Oh, this Evangelion. Oh, you don't know Evangelion? It's one of the most influential anime that's ever come out." It's like, "Oh, hey, can we get on the phone with whoever the fuck owns Evangelion and try and get that license, please?" That's probably what happened.
It's funny because the Titans of anime by next year, Funimation, Netflix, G Kids, Amazon, possibly. Yeah, that should scare anybody, by the way.
I mean,
G Kids, really?
G Kids they've got those Miyazaki licenses.
They do, but son of a bitch. Let's see here. Crunchyroll would have been a good purchase for a Japanese company like Kadokawa, Shueisha, or Toho maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But there's no incentive for them to do it, and any goodwill Crunchyroll had in the subculture, Miles has been chipping away at for years now.
Funimation is not a good purchase, period. The only reason Sony purchased it is because now they own most of the market.
Yeah.
And they've wanted to own most of the market. They've said as much. So like as soon as Crunchyroll went on sale, they weren't going to pay $1.5 billion for it. That wasn't going to happen. But they were certainly still looking to buy, just not at that price.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know. I anticipate that there could potentially be the same kind of event that happened in the late 2000s.
Oh, where sort of how ADV kind of collapsed?
Yeah, where the market kind of implodes in on itself. But at the same time, I'm not so sure, simply because this blob of Funimation and former Crunchyroll is now under Sony's umbrella, and Sony is pretty aggressive about wanting to have the most market share they possibly can in the US anime market.
Okay, this is pretty cool. Okay, that might not be the right wording, but a comment here. Netflix not fighting their asses off to get Fly Me to the Moon shows just how corporate does not understand the draw of anime or what anime fans want from a release.
Netflix just doesn't give a fuck about anime.
No.
And I told y'all that in a previous episode of NTR Radio way back when they picked up the license for Tiger and Bunny and removed all of the product placement and all of the brand placement from it.
Right.
So, Netflix is and people were so like, oh, well, Netflix is they're paying like 3 times as much to the studios. Doesn't make it back to the animators, but they don't talk about that because they don't actually pay attention to, the business aspect of this and where the money goes. But Netflix is doing so much for the studios. Hey, they really care about the anime market, guys. No, they really don't. They're into anime because they know that anime is a big thing right now. And listen, if if the market collapses like back in what was it 2007 2008 around then, and I'm not saying I anticipate that because again now most of the market is owned by Sony and they might actually prop it up. If the same thing happens, I don't think Netflix is going to really stick around.
No, or at least not hold on to that.
No.
But to continue on a comment about this specifically, but it does sort of tell you about what Johnny Come Lately got tongue twisted.
Johnny Come
Latelys think, because when people pointed out that they're not, that they don't have that ending, a lot of people were just like, who cares? I don't watch them anyway. I don't watch opening and endings beyond one time usually anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like you're kind of missing the point there.
Yeah.
Okay. The fact if you want to, you can't. And it's actually part of the presentation as it was meant to be seen.
Yes.
Which is, quite frankly, no matter how you slice it, was how they wanted you to see it.
I mean, so here's the thing. I don't watch openings and endings 90% of the time. But I still understand the importance of it. Like I'm not gonna try and take that away from people. And I like if something happens like what happened with Netflix and Fly Me to the Moon, it's gonna I'm gonna have a problem with it too, even though I didn't watch it most of the time.
Well, it's
but
not
what
only
happens
that,
is like most of the people who had that kind of commentary, I doubt are gonna be like really. Well, here's the thing. I doubt they're going to be spending a whole lot of money on anime in the next 15 years.
I called them Johnny Come Latelys because they're the only ones who I heard that they don't care. In fact, everybody else I knew was actually a little miffed.
Yeah, because they give a shit. They probably spend more money on anime than the people who complain who don't care.
Right. Well, but here's why this is even more of a problem than most people are making it out to be. Now, you could argue that the real reason they did it is because they didn't want to pay the extra licensings for the song since it's a cover.
I guarantee you that's the reason they did it.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I mean, that's true with some of the DVD releases of shows. That was why shows like The Wonder Years took forever to come out. Because there was a lot of shit going on with the song usage. But ignoring that even for a minute, though, what's to stop, I don't know, Netflix from grabbing show XYZ and omitting XYZ part because, this is a problematic part, and we figured if we got rid of it, it would be more palatable to normal people.
Yep. And there's not doing that.
No, once they get it, it doesn't matter. That they'll just do that. And the thing is the same kind of people essentially would be defending the same thing. Because it's like, well, I didn't care about that anyway. Well, that's fine, Danny, but you didn't make the damn thing.
I put out back in September, I put out a tweet posing a question. In your opinion, do international anime publishing companies have a responsibility to bring the full content of the anime over? And as far as the responses I got, it was pretty much a unanimous yes.
Yeah, so that's what the fans think, but I'm willing to bet the business side of it's a lot more mixed.
Well, the business side of it is a lot more mixed because they're trying to work an economy of scale with the anime subculture. It's
also based off the infinite growth. They need to get new people constantly.
Exactly.
And you can't do that if you're scaring them off with incest subplots and shit.
Exactly.
Which is why there's always going to be a problem for newbies that don't want to learn about the history of it, where the things come from, why they're there. So it's not a surprise that there's a subsect of new fans that really want things to change.
Market anime to Australia.
Yeah, and they're not, and those are not the people who are going to be spending a whole lot of money on it. And what it comes down to is, listen, you can do your economy of scale thing, but how long are you going to be able to sustain that versus how much you have to spend to market all that?
Yeah,
compared to back when Aniplex of America was putting out a whole lot of releases, I don't remember them doing a whole hell of a lot of marketing, do you?
They didn't need to.
They didn't need to, because they could guarantee
they know their audience, and they know their audiences are going to pay for things.
Yep. They know their audience. They know their audience. They know their audience is going to pay for it, and they know that anyone who is going to spend however much to own this anime has already seen the anime on some streaming service. So they don't need to advertise it. It markets itself.
Right, and like I said, there's a certain level of the people who will pay for this stuff offset any kind of bitching we're going to get.
Yep.
And I'm sure they looked at that and just goes, yeah, they can bitch all they want. We still have people paying $200, $300 for a set or more.
Fucking the half-naked anime girl figures are still $150 a pop.
And it's like, and it's like, hey, I mean, there's some places you can actually get a hooker for less than that. Come on. I mean, so that should give you
you can get a real naked woman for less, and people are still paying $150 plus for these anime figures. So I don't know what, and like Crunchyroll is in the anime figure market, and I'm not saying it's a high margin sort of thing. Like there's definitely costs associated with it, but their main domain is, okay, we're trying to do the streaming thing, we're trying to do the infinite growth thing, and that's not going to work in the anime market. I really don't think so. There purely are not enough people who are going to be into anime at that level to sustain a massive operation like that. Not forever. Right.
Which is again something kind of relegated to that in the server here. Stability is key. Well, certainly, because the entire model of infinite growth does not work with the way anime sells and just the kinds of people that buy it. Even it doesn't grow outward quite like that.
The people who are going to stick around for a long time are not the kind of people you need to spend a whole lot of money marketing to, but there aren't many of those people compared to, like, going back to the concentric circles. When you're in like the 5th, 6th, 7th ring of the circle, there's a ton of people, but you need to spend,
willing to drop a little money on one show.
Exactly, but you need to spend a whole lot of money to get all those
and
people.
And you have to have a constant influx of people willing to do that to offset not having the other people.
Which means you have to be continually spending that kind of money on that, and I don't think that's like.
Well, and it's nowhere near as stable. Like I said, you can get guy, girl, XYZ that habitually buys figures or art books or what have you of things they like, and they're reliably going to drop their coin on it.
Yeah. Well, so I'm a marketing guy. Like that's literally what I have to do in some certain parts of my business. And when you're talking marketing, you're talking. So there's a term, CAC, CAC, cost of acquiring a customer.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do if you're building, say, a Facebook ad or a YouTube ad, a Google ad, is you want to target people who are likely to buy, not just people who are maybe in the interest group, maybe in the adjacent to what you're looking for. If you're trying to sell something, you're targeting people who are likely to buy. So if I was to build a Twitter ad, no, not a Twitter ad, a Facebook ad for a particular kind of service, I would, and you can do this in the like it gets this. By the way, this is how much data Facebook has on you. You can build. I can say, okay, I want people who live in this area, who are newly married, and have this range of income, and are male, between the ages of like 25 and 40. If I'm building an ad for, like, say, buying a new house or something, like if I'm a realtor. So and what you're getting down to is you want to get the highest concentration of people who are the most likely to buy. Because otherwise, you're spending money. Because every time someone sees your ad, you that's money spent. But if someone sees your ad but doesn't buy because they're not in a position to buy, they're not motivated, it's interesting, but they don't really. It's not really that interesting to them. It's not a thing that they're really after right now. Then you just wasted money. So the idea is you want to market as much as you can, but only to people who are going to buy. And Aniplex has this down pat because the marketing is already produced. It's the anime. And now they're just selling the anime on Blu-ray for $100-something. And people are going to buy that because they know that there's a certain subset of people who are going to buy that. But when you're beholden to a massive company, and that's, I feel like, and again, I don't know the numbers in any of these companies, but like Sentai seems to be doing fine. Disc seems to be doing fine. Right Stuff and Nozomi seem to be doing fine. When you get and none of these companies are like, they're not massive. They're not Funimation. They're not Crunchyroll. They don't have these huge infrastructures, or they don't have these big brands. They don't do a whole hell of a lot of marketing, not to the same scale as Funimation or Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll does so much marketing, they have their own convention.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, imagine how big a marketing spend that is, and I guarantee you it's a marketing spend. They're not running their own convention because it's something to do. That's marketing because they have to do that. But when you get to that point where, number one, you are a big company, and number two, more importantly, you're beholden to this big corporation above you, and you have to prove value, then you have to start getting into the economy of scale thing, and then you have to start growing at a particular level. Otherwise, they're gonna start looking down and say, well, these Crunchyroll guys aren't really, they're not really moving the needle. So what are we gonna do? Especially if the company is AT&T and is like $150-something billion in debt. So the massive business, like the big business thing in anime, I don't think is sustainable. And I think unless Sony is willing to just pump money into these companies, I don't think it's going to sustain itself. I don't think it's going to be workable for like years to come.
Again, it really does seem like a sort of haphazard.
People then complain about marketing to niche is
Well, fuck them. They're not buying shit. If they're not, you can complain as much as you want about marketing to the niche.
I remember this was like when I used to be on Toy Box DX. Matt Alt said, the whole thing about marketing, I guess to otaku only is like a snake eating its own tail thing, which of course not true.
Well, Matt Alt, let me hit up the. But I had this up last episode, but I don't remember where I saved it, so I'm gonna have to go find it again. It's such a fucking boring argument.
He also made a book. He also came out a book recently. I think about like sort of tracing various Japanese things to like their origin or such. I forgot the whole. But anyway, there was one chapter he wrote about. It was like called like anti-social media, or like how things like 4chan brought things about Gamergate and all that.
Oh, lovely, great,
yeah,
goody,
excellent.
oh goody,
Wonderful.
oh goody, a miserable person writing on something they're irritated about.
Fucking
Yeah,
been
well,
since,
you
been
know, he
since
gets to be
2014.
in.
Gamergate hasn't been a
He gets to
hasn't
be
been
the
a
voice of
relevant.
Japan, of the stuff because he lives in Japan,
Of
even
course.
though.
Okay,
Well, fuck
cool.
it, like,
Someone who can barely hide their contempt for their surroundings.
such a fucking tired argument. Oh, it's a snake eating its own tail. 20.
Okay, what's it?
The market
hang
has
on,
been
hang on.
growing continuously since 2013.
Okay,
Like,
calm down, man.
can we? Well, this isn't
He's
hard.
mad, dude.
This
He's mad,
isn't
dude.
difficult. You can't make the argument that it's a snake eating its own tail if you look at the numbers, but nobody wants to look at the numbers because they like feeling like they're right, even if they're talking out of their asses.
Yeah. He also said
Continuous
I had a chip
growth.
on my shoulder, apparently.
Well, you know what? Maybe I have a chip on my shoulder because all these people are talking shit, but don't want to actually do what's necessary to be correct.
You're
Hang
totally
on.
right. Before you, I was the one like kind of saying all this stuff. It's similar in nature, and you know, that's why I say I was the canary in the coal mine for all this.
You know what the
'Cause I
difference
was
is, though,
like-
VZ? Now we have fucking numbers. Now we can look
Why-
at it. Well,
Everyone,
the
settle down.
market. As a matter of fact, I was wrong. I was wrong, guys. The market has been growing continuously since 2010. A decade.
Okay, well, hang on a minute. Here's the other thing. All right, so that's a snake eating its own tail. What is it when you continually make comments and defenses of things that aren't right, but you still do it anyway?
Doubling down on stupid.
The market's grown by just under $1 trillion since 2009.
Well, this was around the time.
We can talk about the fucking it's a snake eating its own tail. No, the data doesn't bear that out. But if you want to look at the data, but you want to talk on this theoretical shit about obviously if they continue to market to otaku, they're eventually going to run out of otaku to market to. Not understanding that and this is the problem is sure there's a limited quantity of people who are going to be into anime and people who are like gonna be buying anime like that, but we have to understand that demographic does grow.
Yes, it does.
Like there's certainly more people who are buying anime figures now than there were in the past. I guarantee you that. So
well, considering you sell them, you definitely know.
Hey, I think I doubled my revenue this year compared to last year, and like that was back in I think that was back in August that I noticed that. So, but okay, that's anecdotal. But at the same time, do we not understand? Do we think that there's a limited number of hardcore otaku that exists, and when the last one dies is going to be the extinction of the hardcore otaku?
Yeah, it's going to be it slowly peters out.
And part of the problem is that a lot of the people who make these same arguments also heavily discourage the kind of engagement that hardcore otaku do. So
yeah,
if you want to talk about
consumerism is a bad thing.
Yeah, well,
I was the one always saying, why don't you just talk to otaku?
Yeah, they're not going to fucking do that.
No, there's a lot of reasons they won't.
It's a pathologization of that entire method of interacting with the media.
Of course, I know that yes, there's the language barrier, but you know what? There's ways of getting to the otaku. Just ask them what is it that they like about the stuff that they're into.
Patrick W. Galbraith did that in Otaku Spaces, but we don't like to talk about that book. We're too busy talking about database animals.
No. They make excuses for about what those books say. Like oh yeah, you probably would like that book because it tells you what you want to hear. And it's what the fuck? You're the one saying that.
That's exactly what database animals says. It's database animals is literally telling people who are informed by critical theory and whatnot exactly what they want to hear about otaku media. And you know
Right.
what?
And
It
quite
doesn't.
frankly,
It doesn't bring any of those people any closer to buying any $150 anime figures. So they don't matter.
not only that, but let's be real here. Most things that are under the critical theory lens are just complete bullshit. I mean, especially anything involving at scale like mass production or sales or anything like that.
Well, put it again. I got to put this in the time frame. This was around the time Lucky Star came out, and this was like
that still doesn't make it any less stupid.
What was that? Like
that
20...
show became like the sort of linchpin of like everything wrong in anime is.
When was that? Like 2009?
2007.
2007.
Again,
Okay,
makes
so-
no difference. It's still a dumb comment.
You could make an argument.
Which is in 208.
2008. So you could.
2008.
Well, so between 2007 and 2008, there was growth. But again, we don't like to talk about numbers because we might be wrong when we talk about numbers, and we really want to be right about all the stuff we hate so we can justify our hate in it. But
Whatever happened to just not liking something
like
and going the fuck away?
Yeah, you're just a pedo if you like Lucky Star. Well,
well, fucking tell that to
Tell that to fucking Lucky Star.
And listen, we're talking about people who we're talking about people who don't necessarily really matter to the market because they're not in the market. They're not part of the market. They're not spending money in the market. They're not consumers in the market, save for, this title here came out, I'll buy this. This title here came out, I'll buy that. Compared to fucking, I can point to enough figures in this room here to reach $3,000 easily. So to get back to the point I was making, the infinite growth model doesn't map to the anime community, and what it ignores is that if you nurture that niche fan base, it does grow. If you give them what if you give them what they want, and you make a high quality product.
Pandering. That's fan pandering. That's
hey,
bad.
It makes money.
But capitalism is bad. My professor said so.
I'm just sick. I'm just so sick and tired of all these. It's a dumbass argument. Like, do these people expect to be listened to by companies that are designed to make money?
Well, if you have people in the lower part of the, sort of agreeing with them and becoming the opinion leaders,
that's the
you
fucking problem.
Kind of know who I'm talking about.
That's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
That it gets to a point where you vilify these otaku methods of consumption so much that it becomes a background radiation of like this is a problem, and this is something that nobody really talks about, but I was talking, I think this was just over a year ago, as a matter of fact. I was talking with Frogcoon on Twitter, and this is in the wake of that real big Twitter post I had about gatekeeping. And I said to Frogcoon, listen, what I want most is to set a good example and to encourage people to be passionate about whatever they're passionate about in the anime subculture. But if I encounter someone who's like real big into something like Kodomo no Jikan or something like Kiss Sis, and me knowing how people tend to treat fans of those anime, what the fuck am I supposed to tell them? If we're not going to address this idea that we're basically creating an underclass of particular people in the anime subculture, and that becomes the background radiation of the subculture, and that's a bad thing if gone unaddressed, because it leads to some pretty nasty stuff down the line that we're starting to see manifest. And in ways that legitimately victimize people, because I'm not. We could make a whole topic out of this. I'm not going to get into it, but long story short, if you start to vilify methods of sexual engagement with anime that are healthier than projecting that onto other real human beings, it ends up getting projected onto other real human beings and causing a lot of problems for a lot of people, like significant problems. But we don't want to talk about that because we're too busy trying to shame people who like ecchi anime out of liking ecchi anime. When in reality, the people who matter are the people who are spending the most money on this stuff, and it ain't the people trying to shame people. Because people spending money are too busy enjoying their lives and surrounding themselves with shit they like.
I think we should probably wrap this up pretty soon.
That's a fact.
But yeah, obviously tensions are high here, but I understand because we're dealing with the same arguments that have been here before we even started the podcast.
So I've been running like She's Lost Control, that whole family of blogs, anime blogs, gaming blogs since
Which are gone now, by the way.
2008, 2009. The posts still exist, they're just not, like, you can't get to them. It's like 2008, 2009, and then the current iteration of She's Lost Control.net that started in 2011. But like, none of these people's arguments have changed in a decade. Even though we have more information that we did now, like a wealth more information.
In some cases, even language hasn't changed. Like, I mean, you can usually tell somebody who's been on this for a long time because the language is still the same. Even it's literally repeating shit that I heard over 15 years ago by someone who doesn't even like this shit anymore, and very obviously doesn't. I mean, that's not everybody, of course, but I mean, I've seen it.
It's just, it just gets frustrating when
it does because you feel like you're repeating yourself or trying to point, because even when you can point out where a lot of this stuff is flawed or just downright a lie or wrong, it doesn't matter because the same shit still floats around.
Well, it's people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but insist that they know what they're talking about. Like, I got into an argument on Twitter with like a guy because I made the assertion that the true assertion, by the way, that your overseas, like your Funimation purchases, for example, don't make it back to the anime studios. Like, and
I saw some of that.
Yeah, I can break that down, but like, you're gonna argue with me on that, especially when you don't have evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same shit as people wanting to sound like they know what they're talking about versus people who actually know what they're talking about. And it gets frustrating because especially when we're talking facts. It's like Matt Alt can say, "Oh well, it's a snake eating its own tail with regard to trying to pander to moe, otaku, and whatnot," but we can talk about the facts. So we've been on, like, we haven't seen a loss since 2009 in the anime market.
Mm-hmm.
And all this stuff is available. But people don't like to talk numbers, and that's what's frustrating about it.
Or
because the numbers matter.
It's even worse than that. If they do like to talk numbers, they usually don't know how to interpret them.
Honestly, K-Gods, I've yet to see a single one of these people who likes to talk numbers.
Well, no. Most of the time, the numbers are really obvious and proving their bullshit.
They'll just say Japan has shit taste.
Which isn't a fucking argument.
Most of the time, what happens is, as soon as you start to talk numbers, they'll turn out that retarded Justin Bieber argument. Oh, that mean if
or Twilight, yeah.
That must mean that Justin Bieber is the best musician of all time. No, fuck you. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's ever said that. Nobody's ever said that. Making that argument.
Stop strawmanning people here.
It means
that's
that
not what anybody's saying.
So when we have a product in a market, naturally we want to sell a lot of that product because
there's a reason Fruit Loops sells more than the fucking generic brand.
Oh yeah, we want to sell a lot of the product because we make more money doing that. Like nobody's gonna make a product and say, I only ever want to sell one of this.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's yeah.
Unless it's like a priceless painting or some shit. But if you're making a product to put in a market to sell, you want to sell more of them. So what you want to do is you want to do what's necessary to sell more of that product within reason, of course. You don't want to like compromise the product, but you want to take action that is conducive to selling more of the product. So what that means is if a product sells more than another product in a similar like market sector, that means the product that sold more did something right. That's all we're ever trying to find out when we bring up sales numbers. But people who like to tout the art versus product shit like to go into like everything has to reflect back upon the artistic quality of the work, which isn't true, but people like to talk about that because they don't like to talk about the business aspect because they're not knowledgeable about it. They know they're not knowledgeable about it, and they know that if they try to talk about it, they're going to be talking out of their ass. And they're going to be made to look like a fool by people who actually understand what they're talking about. So I get it. It's just kind of low down in Bush League, and I have no patience for it.
Okay, I think we better wind this down.
That's the show. The email address is ntrradio@gmail.com. The website is ntrradio.net. Check out VZ stuff at VZMK2, more than make a guy tied at WordPress.com, as well as, let me go to the URL because it's up now, thebigbookofIdols.com. THE, Big Book of Idols.com. And there's the page. The Big Book of Idols.
Post it in the chat.
262 pages. Idols from Original Generation, Million Live, Cinderella Girls, Shiny Colors.
Yes.
You can get
I will say that certain idols aren't in there because this was made before.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, no Riamu. But there's lots of other things there.
Riamu, yeah.
And I will put this on my social media feed. Buy my book. Buy my book.
The worst thing about that is I know what you're referencing.
Oh, absolutely.
I have absolutely seen The Critic. Assuming, hopefully, that's what you were actually referencing.
Yes.
Where Jay Sherman's saying that. Because it's like the thing automating putting it and then he shoots the head off of it. That's funny. Anyway,
my stuff is at iashike.moe and otakuentrepreneur.com. Check out Bakugajin Show, check out Otaku Midnight, check out Asobi FM. All those are really good. The Geeky Panda stuff is at thegeekypanda.net. His stuff is really good as well. On Twitter, you can catch me at TENubis, VZ at VZMK2, the show at NTR_radio. I'm Tom Forster Nubis.
I'm K-Yods.
I'm VZ Mark II. Buy my book.
And even though we get bought by Sony every time we say it, this is NTR Radio.